My fair lady.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm doing it. You always think the beginning.
Hey, do we have anybody online or is?
No.
Give it the next 30 seconds and then we'll start. There's,
Councilmember Bliss, can you hear us okay?
Hi.
hey, hi.
I can.
All right, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started and see. There's Paul.
Oh,
Yes.
Paul's on as well.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Paul. All right, has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes that were sent out earlier today? And if so, do we have any corrections?
I have some questions on it.
Okay,
I think, there's typos, but we might as well get them. On, item 2, National Bike Month instead of Boat Month.
Oh, and you know, sometimes I send it out and then I go back later and fix it, so maybe after it's a minor to be fixed in there.
Okay,
Cause I just type away and then I'm like, I'll fix it later.
and then under item 4, second line, lanterns. Gas lanterns.
The gas turns under, sorry, say that again.
Item 4, second line, after the word gas is the word lanterns, but it lacks an N.
Okay, thank you.
Um, then,
I think I actually, if you're looking at the ones that are printed out, I had caught those, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, they look fine.
yeah,
and then under item 6, the second to last line. I don't think you meant her proposal. Their proposal, maybe?
Well, so what I had said is that they had been working with me on a proposal.
Oh.
And they got in touch with me and said that they weren't gonna go, that they wouldn't be able
That-
to
yeah.
continue with it. So that's how that came to be, but they're not, GRNE is not now Grow Solar. GRNE was just the company.
Okay,
They were part of our Grow Solar initiative thing.
okay, got it.
Maybe,
And it wasn't just my proposal, it was,
The whole,
they were
the-
just
yeah,
stopping doing residential work.
Okay.
So
there. There you go.
that's what I was trying to report.
and that's all I got. Thank you.
hey, anything else? Or do I hear a motion to approve as corrected?
So
Second.
Okay, everyone in favor, say aye.
I-
Right,
Thank you.
okay, visitor comments. Yes,
Great.
Dave.
I'll be really quick, and thanks for having me. First of all, I want to give kudos to John Hickey. I thought he did a really good job last week. I know Jeff was not available, so John stepped in to give at the city council work session, budget work session. They did a good job. Thanks for kind of the shout out to Webster on Wheels. Which leads me to Webster on Wheels, because I really want to thank particularly Paul and John and Jamie, because they manned the rest stop on our 6 mile route right outside of the high school. And we had, I was very pleased with WOW, particularly versus last year. And particularly from a kid turnout. We may have had more kids biking this year than I've seen in a while, and that was great. So anyway, thank you for all your help on that. And Paul, thank you. I attended the EcoEd or the library. I know Anna was there, John was there. This is with Don Corrigan, who made the talk. And I'll tell you, I came away from that talk and it's like, this is my opinion. I don't think the world's existential threat is climate change, because I think the world will survive. I think it's been around 4.5 billion years, and I think it will survive. I'm more concerned about human sustainability. I don't think our human race can survive, and that's actually got me much more concerned than the environment. I think we are killing ourselves, and I think that's what the real danger is. I think the world will move on. That's just my opinion. The other thing that I asked Don about later was, can you link some of these environmental things like particularly toxins, to something that's really relevant, like the top 10 causes of death in the United States? And he said you can link them to 7 of the 10 directly. And it's like, see, that's information I've never heard before. That whether it's heart disease or cancer or whatever, and I just think it makes environmental issues come to light even more because of the impact it has on human lives. And then last thing, the sustainables, this is the kids concept. We are timing wise going to target for the fall when the kids are back in school. Bicycling is a big one, not only because of Webster on Wheels, but it is a definitive sustainable activity, just like walking is. And what I'm really interested in is there are cities around the country that are biking cities, like Madison, Wisconsin, for example. They are bike crazy and everybody rides a bike. And I don't really know the whole history of that or why it is, but they are driving cars and they are putting fossil fuels in the air. They're riding their bicycles in the open air and getting exercise, fresh air. And I'd love to see that happen here in Webster Groves, and maybe the kids will help us do it. I'm personally very interested in learning more about composting. And among other things, Sean and I are having coffee tomorrow at 8:30. I want to pick her brain on this. But mostly, I want to pick the brains of kids like Isabel, because if this is going to work, it's got to be kid driven. It's got to be kid powered. And I don't know the answer to this. I mean, I should know. I have 6 kids and 10 grandkids. But from a kid standpoint, what are those sustainable activities that they can engage in, that they can find fun, that they can find productive? I mean, if this is going to succeed, it's got to be kid driven. And so I'm going to be talking to a lot of kids and getting their input on stuff, find out where they are. But I'm doing my own investigation on composting, John. You're the one who first mentioned it to me. And it's very cool if you can get people into it. It could be widespread. That's the other thing I like about it. So anyway, thanks for that. So that's it.
Great. Well, thank you for, thanks for attending and thanks for the comments. I want to second John, thanks for going to city council and presenting in my absence. Appreciate it.
It was, I'm sure, not nearly as succinct today. Focus as yours would have been. It
No,
finally
no.
dragged me off the stage with.
Good,
No,
good.
no,
No, they
no.
did.
You did great, John. Perfect.
Anyway, yeah,
A bicycle idea, I want to follow up with Dave, but I think it's relevant to the whole committee, but I want to mention it now because it's
Please.
to follow up. There's something called National Bike to Work Day,
Yes.
which is May 16th of 2025. And one thing that occurs to me is actually, if you look at Webster, there's a fair number of people who bicycle to WashU for work, because I bike
Yeah,
to Forest Park to ride around. there.
sure.
And I'm always running into WashU professors who are biking back and forth. And it seems to me that might be a way to get people in Webster thinking differently about bicycles, as not just exercise, but actual transportation. And that the bridge over the creek at Deer Creek is where all those commuters got to cross on their way to WashU. So there's a choke point where you could do some sort of tabling or media, all the above. So I just wanted to flag that. It's sort of a way to think about expanding the sort of age cohort.
Well, if you just build that real quick, you said National Bike to Work Day. Well, see, we wanted to do a bike to school day. Webster School Day has never had a bike to school day, have they? Well, I don't know if they have.
Not like that, but they put like the sign out, but yeah, it's.
And they were gonna have one and then it just fell through and so, you know, we just have to keep pushing on it, but there's no reason why. Every month there shouldn't be a bike to school day. I mean, just something to get kids on bicycles. Right?
It's a pretty good squad that rides to Haverhill. They got
Yeah,
a bike rack out front and they got
exactly.
a lot of
Yeah,
bikes.
they have bike racks in front of every school, right?
All right,
John, can I ask you, sorry, what the date was of that bike to work day again?
May 16th.
Thank
Vote to school day. I'd rather be on vote.
okay, Sean, you're.
Okay, wonderful. Several things to share with you guys. One is I brought some of these rainscaping flyers. So I was researching funding opportunities for Webster Groves for the city on stormwater projects. And at the time being, we're not eligible for anything, but I wanted to share there is the Deer Creek Watershed Alliance does a cost share program for rainscaping, but the deadline for the 2024 program is June 7th. So now, this QR code will take you to a map where you can type in your address and it will tell you if you're applicable. Really, this is oversimplifying it, but it's mostly, residents that are north of Big Bend and 44 would fall into the Deer Creek, watershed area. Now, if you don't fall into that area, you are very likely, all of Webster is within the boundary, still eligible for the MSD small grant program. And that, there is no deadline for that. It's on a rolling basis. So anyway, I just wanted to share that information. We've had so much rain lately that it's been top of mind. So, wanted to share that. Also, we might have another guest show up. She emailed me shortly before the meeting saying, she might be late. She has a work meeting, but her name is Sasha Wiederkind. And, she works for a sustainability consulting firm and she was interested. She told me she just this afternoon applied for the commission. And she was gonna try and attend a meeting just to learn a little bit more. So she may show up in the next 15 minutes, and then along those lines, I'm also aware of 2 other residents who have applied for the commission. One has already interviewed and Pam might touch on this in her update. And then the other one has not interviewed yet, but, so we know we do have applicants that are
Great.
interested, which is great because we want to fill those vacancies. Also just, yeah, go ahead.
Are you at liberty to say who they are or is that not appropriate?
I don't want, it's public knowledge because it's on video on council's website. Matt, Rudy, I want to say is the name of the gentleman who has already interviewed. And then, the second, I'm not going to remember her name off the top of my head. I believe her name is Mary, something with a B. She
Oh,
works.
Barger.
Yes, she worked, yes.
Okay, I asked her to apply. She's brilliant.
Good. Her interview, as long as she doesn't have something pop up with her mother, apparently, her mother's health, but she would be interviewing tomorrow with council at their meeting. So.
She.
Good. Good. She works for the Nature Conservancy. And then the first applicant, I believe, works for Boeing, I want to say. But that's,
The Sasha person.
no, the gentleman who already interviewed last week at the council meeting. Yes, and that's on the city's YouTube channel. I mean, like all city council meetings are public, so that's not anything private, but okay, so that's the latest on applicants. Also just to follow up with solar rebate, so you guys know, we are in the process, or there are 8 rebates that we have. Well, actually 7, I guess. 7 rebates that have been distributed so far, because when you were giving your update at John, I was like, I need to go back and double check that number. There's 7 that are, in final review or about to be finalized, and then 1, I think was, a resident affected by, the Nelnet now
Right.
canceling all residential programs, so that one is on hold until they can continue their project with a new installer, but.
Oh, 7, that's more than double what our
Right,
last number. was.
Yeah, 7 with 1 on hold, but I imagine they will move forward with a new installer. And Mr. Peterson, Eric did confirm that the unused rebates will roll over into fiscal year 2025, so.
Okay.
great.
Also, I wanted to update you guys on the Green Dining Alliance program. As you know, we're basically waiting for that organization to fill their staff vacancy for the program manager position. And they had a second interview with a candidate last week. So not moving quite as quickly as I had hoped, but they are the certifying body, so we're kind of just waiting for them to get back on their feet. And then lastly, I wanted to get your opinions on, so as you know, we have an electronic waste recycling event every August. And typically it's at Moss Field at Hickson Middle School, but that location, they've been constructing they're renovating. So Moss Field very likely will be unavailable. And even if construction were to finish on time, it would be their brand new parking lot, so it would probably be in our best interest to consider a new location or a different location, at least for this year. And so I just wanted to see if you guys had any ideas or how would you feel about possibly joining with another municipality, Shrewsbury or Maplewood, and doing a joint e-waste drive, maybe at one of their sites. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of, we're not really sure where we could accommodate large, like there's semi trucks that come in to take all this waste. There's a long line of vehicles that
Right.
go
Yeah, you
through.
get traffic queues
Oh,
up pretty
yes.
good.
So you need, right. Oh, you did?
My husband did, he
Oh.
waited a long time.
Where did he go? Which one?
I want to say Kirkwood,
Okay.
because they just had it when we moved it, just.
Yeah, yeah.
I went to Maplewood and the traffic was
And maybe
lined
it
up all the way down
Yeah,
Manchester.
it was really bad, so.
So-
Like maybe going together with another one doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well,
They
true,
go that
because then that
popular,
creates
yeah.
even more traffic.
I know other municipalities, their recycling events are open to at least other people.
Well,
Same-
typically ours are,
Right.
yeah, so we do, you don't have
Just
to be in
advertising.
Webster. Yeah, basically we take your zip code, and from last year, I don't remember how many zip codes, but there were certainly more than just 63119, and so, I guess something to think about, and if you guys have any ideas, please shoot me a message. We're not sure if really any of our parks, like the parking lots, are really large enough to handle this.
The one place that comes to mind to me is Owen Ridge, which is the
Oh,
office
that's not
park.
bad.
Only
'Cause they're
because
gonna
it
be-
has-
Not working on Saturday, fine.
Right,
Generally Monday to Friday.
and you could do a loop, so
Yeah.
it's easy in and out.
Where at?
Owen Ridge
Yeah, it's
is an
okay, right.
Oh, Mountain Crowder?
Really good.
off of Marshall,
Oh,
close to Brentwood.
Yeah, that's a great idea. They
Big
got-
space.
Does
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
know, the people there? The
Contact.
owner, yeah.
Don't.
You know the local Webster guy that owns that?
hi.
Hello, Sasha.
Yes,
Come on in.
thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for stopping by.
Sorry I'm so late.
You're fine. Karen, would you mind handing an agenda?
Just here for you.
Yeah,
Oh,
take
thank
a
you so
seat.
much.
Welcome. We're
Thank
just
you. Thank you so much.
in our order of items here. We have just approved the minutes from the last meeting, and then our guest, Mr. Beck here, a resident, came to talk to us about a variety of things, and now I'm giving I'm the staff liaison, so I'm giving an update on things. So thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
We're currently talking about, so every August, Webster Groves hosts an electronic waste recycling event. And the location that we've used in years past is at the middle school, but they are right now in the process of a big renovation. And so we're talking about alternative locations. And a great suggestion of Owens Ridge, right?
Yeah,
Owen Ridge.
Owen Ridge,
Okay.
yeah.
Off Marshall.
I
Okay.
can see if I could dig up contact.
Yeah.
There's somebody who does design work, who's got an office there, Pam.
Paradowski, is that the design firm?
I know it's there, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It could be.
I know that one's there, so it may be the one you're thinking. of.
Isn't there a place called The Edge?
Yes,
The Edge is in there. There's a whole, there must be 20 businesses.
yeah.
Right.
I taught my kids how to drive in that parking lot. It's big. It's a great idea. It's a big parking. And it could handle them going all around.
Okay, thank you very much. It's possible, Eric, who's the staff liaison for the business districts, he would know somebody, so, thank you.
Yeah,
Where was the place? I'm sorry.
Owen Ridge, it's, and the industrial park, is that
it's like an office.
Right.
an
park.
office park? Yeah. Off Marshall. Okay. Near Brentwood. Big parking lot.
There's an event space in there called The Edge. of
Okay.
Webster.
Okay.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
that
yeah,
Deer
yeah,
Creek
yeah, yeah,
Greenway,
Trailhead.
hut with Trailhead with. That's the entrance.
I don't think that that's to with construction. I must be doing some work at Marshall and the police station where they're gonna shut Marshall down.
Oh, okay.
And fellows
Oh.
30 feet deep.
They
No.
got that in Marshall?
There's no way around it. When I asked Bishop Gordon, I told him no, I don't have a schedule for the construction work yet. It's for an MSD project. So,
When do you think that's starting?
I don't.
Oh, you don't know that?
I don't know. I just got traffic control plan today. When they first asked me, I said, no, we don't shut roads down in the city. For you the opportunity to convince me there's no other way to build it. So. Just. You know, Brentwood and UP have some stuff going on this weekend, so you
Yeah.
can get.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, that happens just times. Good to know.
Are they, this might be off topic, I apologize. Are they putting new tracks there? Do you know what they're doing?
Yes. I think they're either upgrading the tracks in Brentwood, the public works director from Brentwood, let us know since it impacts. Brentwood, Kirkham, and the city of Webster, so, but they should open up tonight, Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. It should be done. Just, yeah, that's a great. Just.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Bliss, do you have updates for us?
Hey, yeah, I do.
Great.
So yeah, thank you to John once more for contributing. It was really a cool meeting to see everybody together at the council presentations. It just is amazing the breadth of people that are involved with our city and how they just affect every corner of what we do there. So it was pretty cool. It was fun to see everybody together. I think it was a good opportunity for the commissions to learn about each other as well. So that was neat. I wanted to let you know about the comprehensive planning process. We're going through that right now, which is basically a documented plan on paper in the form of books and plans that will help guide our future. And so we are working with a company called the Lakota Group, the city is, and I sat in on a listening session today with for council and a couple of the planners on the team. It was very good just to hear all of us talk and learn from each other about what we're hoping to get out of the plan. And there's been one event so far for community engagement. And so now they are going to be entering their analysis phase and will be presenting early fall. But in the meantime, there is a survey on our website that's all about the comprehensive plan. I just put it in the chat. But if you go to journey2wg.com, you can see all about the planning process, and there is a survey. It was actually closing soon, but they've decided to leave it open a little longer to get a greater response. So if you all wouldn't mind filling it out and spreading the word to your communities, that would be good feedback. We did have a lot of conversations about just the natural resources we have here in Webster and how does that interface with commercial infrastructure and future development, because we need to find other ways and expand our ways of creating revenue here. So a lot of opportunity there. If you all would mind filling that out, that'd be great. And then we're just in the middle of the budget process. So tomorrow we'll be presenting budget amendments where council members basically take what they've learned that's kind of in the budget so far and how that works out, and proposes other ideas for the budget. And that is it. We'll have three more sessions like that tonight or tomorrow night, and then 2 more sessions, and then July is when we'll have the final budget together. And that's all I have.
John,
Question? Pam, when is the comprehensive plan scheduled to be complete?
I am not sure of the timeline. I know it's 9 to 12 months at least. So it's a long time. It's
And
a
in
pretty
terms-
thorough process. We want to make sure we get the correct amount of community engagement, which would be surrounded by education and feedback. And then just getting it all documented and presented in its final form. So it is a long process.
all right, thank you.
Can I answer one question? Is that, I'm a visitor, I shouldn't.
No, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Sure.
Hey, Pam. Pam, this is Dave.
Yeah.
Quick question. In the newspaper and in your meetings, it looks like the city has a surplus of, I think it was $3.6 million. Is the city's plan to kind of just put that in a rainy day account? Because you never know when things can go south again, or are you looking to spend that money? And allocate?
I mean,
that?
that's really a conversation for council to do together, but we do have reserve funds already. So we have the rainy day funds already, so it's just a matter of what do we want to do with the extra.
Okay, great.
I mean, I know there's some people talk about they don't want to hang on to taxpayers' money. Other people have the more conservative approach. So it's just a matter of all of us talking together about next steps.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 5, appointment of vice chair. I raised this last meeting to sort of gauge interest, and I did have John reached out to me and we met and had coffee. And so I would like to move that John Hickey be appointed to vice chair of sustainability. Is there any discussion? I guess I need a second before we have discussion.
A second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? I didn't see, I don't know, Paul is on, that can hear me.
Sorry, I did not unmute myself. I.
Also, I, yes.
Thanks.
First election victory.
All right, under old business, Webster on Wheels recap. Paul, can you give us a rundown?
Happy to. Yeah, so Dave already addressed this a little bit. We certainly, I totally agree with Dave. Versus last year was a much more exciting event. I mean, the weather kind of was much more favorable, and I think that helped bring a lot of people out. I haven't been involved with this as long, obviously, as Dave has. I think he's been with it since inception, and I think it maybe peaked so many years ago with maybe 400 or 500 riders. We had a lot less than that, but it was a significant improvement from last year. And as Dave said, there were a ton of kids. Like the proportion of kids was higher than I've seen in the years I've been involved. I think, you know, I enjoy participating in the event. I think there's, you know, there's various ways to sort of talk about how we can drive attendance going forward. We made the decision as sort of the planning group not to charge for it. There's pros and cons on that because I think it does, you know, it makes it more accessible for everyone on the one hand, but then it perhaps, you know, makes it less likely that people will show up than if they've spent the $20 or whatever you're going to charge to as an admission fee. So, you know, that can be an issue, not necessarily not for discussion today at all, but just giving you some of my impressions on it. So anyway, I thought it went well. And again, thanks very much, John, for coming and volunteering along with me, and look forward to staying involved with this in the future, though certainly open to fresh ideas. And, you know, I love that Dave is sort of really focusing on the cycling side of things. That's a big part of my life, I know, and you know, hope to see that infrastructure within Webster to continue to improve in that regard. I think I won't spend too long on this, but to me, the biggest issue for kids cycling is to and from schools, and in particular, it's crossing 44 on a bicycle. I live in Tuxedo Park, and I would not want my own children to have to cycle to Hickson from there. I don't think it's safe. I don't think there's a safe route there. So to me, that's kind of the biggest issue, is just making the roadways more cycle friendly. And, you know, there are various initiatives I know, you know, that sort of have tried to address that, but I'll stop there. But thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for heading that up for us. And thanks for everyone who volunteered. Sorry I wasn't able to be there this year.
Can I add one quick thing?
Sure thing.
Our longest bike route has always been 6 miles. But these kids go through it like crazy. I mean, and they're finished like in 20 minutes. So I think if anything, Paul, we may look at like taking it to 12 miles or 10 miles. I mean, I think, you know, bike ride is the center focus. And I think we could just make it longer and through more Western neighborhoods. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Great, thank you. We have Eco Ed lecture series. Erin, giving us a little rundown.
Yeah, we haven't had one since our last meeting here. The last one that we had was the one at the Arbor Day celebration.
No,
But-
John Corrigan.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, Don Corrigan.
It makes so much fun next year that you just.
I have been out
Forgot.
of town so much, I don't even know where I am right now. That's when I am. Okay, so, but we have one more coming up in June, which is Nicole Miller Strutman or Strutman Miller. She's will be doing the pollinators at the library, and then we take July and August off. And we'll be back in September and October with 2 more on those. There is, I would like to get some feedback at some point before we start planning for next year. What you guys really think about it, because green spaces have been showing up at the series, but there doesn't seem to be very much bandwidth in this committee for that particular activity. So I don't know if that's something that we want to continue with as a group or something we need to think about.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, because I think one of the big challenges we've had is outreach on whether it's things we're doing that we're trying to promote, or just helping educate people about sustainability issues. I think the challenge gets to attendance and venue, what night, if people
Yeah.
are busy, and I know in the past, and I forget the answer to this, but the potential for streaming things online. Because
Yeah.
people can, if they could tune in, or even if it was available on recording, go back and watch later, there might be some interest.
And that's a really good idea. I think the library has the capacity to do that.
I'm not sure. I thought Carrie made it sound like we had the capacity when the eco-eds were happening at Webster University. But the challenge with that location was that engaged in-person viewer, or, that drops because it's a harder location, I think, for people to navigate. At least that's what my understanding was. Actually, just at the council meeting last week, Carrie mentioned it in her annual update for the Green Space Advisory Commission, and that was a question that she was asked as well. And her answer made it sound like the public library does not have the I'm not sure how that could be, but she said we had the capability to do that at Webster University, but we didn't have as many people come in person as we do when it's at the library. So but I think everyone agrees that would be wonderful if that could get figured out, so.
Could you have it at a school where they have that equipment already, and then like somebody through is in a class there could help set it up, and in the media class even, or in the sustainability class there, stay after to help set it up and stuff,
Yeah, that's.
or set it up.
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's a good point.
Yeah.
All in all, I think that we could look into that for
Just,
next year, if you guys think that we still want to be thinking toward doing that.
The event on energy efficiency I went to was fantastic. The speaker was tremendous.
Yeah, it was good.
I wish more people could
Yeah.
heard it.
Right.
That's
John?
The Jefferson Township Democratic Club meets in that same space and does live stream the meetings as well as archives it
Oh, do they?
online. The
Okay.
meeting is tonight, so if you were to go there at 7 PM tonight,
Talk to Carol.
you could, well, it's not the library doesn't have anything to do with it. It's Shirley Wolverson, who's a member of the Democratic Club, who does it just on her laptop. But if you wanted to see in action what.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it seems like a big technology challenge
No,
these
we're
days.
gonna
You can
be
stream
able to-
anything.
It's just like somebody with a laptop.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say.
Just need to
The
have
speaker's
that-
got to stand in one
It's an pronunciation
place.
church or something.
It's-
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not a technical person, she is, but so if you wanted to pick her brain or whatever, that happens tonight itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that same room.
And I'm gonna throw this out there. I know I mentioned this in the past, but I'm thinking back to these old Wash U science lectures that I used to go to, and they had them at Schlafly and Maplewood, and people had beers and drinks and food. It was a lot of fun, and they really drew
Yeah.
a good crowd.
Yeah, beer's not a bad draw.
Is it at Rolling Ridge, or don't they have a brewery there now and?
Or that hotel, the
Yeah.
coffee shop. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
the
good
coffee
space.
shop, yeah,
Good
yeah.
space.
I know I went to one, and there was a professor from Wash U presenting on particulate matter,
Mhm.
and you had a room full of people. Of course, they're drinking beers and listening, but how do you get 30 or 40 people
Right.
in a room?
Or at the Hawken House series during the summer, have somebody talk, hey, here's a little plug. In between the bands. While you're here, we have your ear.
That back room at Wellens
Yeah, the pub. Yeah.
would be a great space for something like that. It's kind of like the Schlafly space.
But I'd love to, I think I'd love to see it continue, just maybe
Mhm.
think about how we want to go about trying to increase attendance or raise awareness or.
And maybe expanding the subcommittee, getting some help. Karen, I know you've done a tremendous amount of work on
Yeah.
this eco education lecture series, so. Kudos to you, but.
Yeah, it would be great to
Yeah.
have someone else. There are two on Greens, Carrie and Corin are on from Green Space. So you're just having even one more person who has the time to help with that.
Right,
would be
right.
helpful.
Okay, well, thanks for the,
Yeah, we've got new
thanks for the
members
update.
coming on, so.
Right. Moving on to new business, Anna. Do you want to talk about the composting subcommittee?
Oh, okay,
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Well, Sean and I got together and brainstormed a little bit about starting a composting initiative as a project of the commission. And Sean had the wonderful suggestion of forming a subcommittee so we can focus our efforts and see who else may be interested in participating on the subcommittee. We already have a few ideas about how to kick it off and kind of like what scale and scope it might take on. I don't know if we want to get into that now or save that for our first subcommittee meeting and brainstorm that, but if anyone's interested.
There does seem to be a lot of interest right now in composting. You know, from a lot of different individuals and groups, and so it seems like the time is right. There's an appetite for, you know, at least some research into what we could do, what we could offer. You know, maybe that means, and in the past, Public Works actually has given out composting bins. And so whether we do another round of that or possibly, you know, we have a conversation around piloting some very small scale neighborhood plots. Or perhaps it's more about inviting existing composting businesses to have a drop off. You know, and Dharma and Dwell and Old Orchard, there's a drop off site there for people that have membership with, it's not, I don't think it's Total Organics, Newark Farm, I think it might be, but anyway, it could be something like that. In any case, there's a variety of directions it could take, but I think what would be, the first step would be to, you know, engage with other, whether it's Green Space Advisory Commission or just anybody and everyone who's interested and just, you know, put our heads together and see, get some ideas and see what there's a palette for.
Yeah.
And the city gives out free compost barrels, right? They're
We
free.
We have, yeah, so in the past, the Public Works Department was able to acquire that through grant funding. And I will admit, there are a few left over. There's not a large amount. In fact, last fall, I was reaching out to all of the school districts, the Webster Grove School District, all of the schools to see if they were interested. And Hickson did take 3. They were the only school at the time that was interested in piloting this. But we don't have a large reserve of compost bins where we would want to open that up, you know, unless we apply for grant funding and go through this whole thing again, which certainly might be, you know, something we do. But there's other ways we could pilot some sort of composting service or.
Can I ask you a related question?
Sure.
NOMO April
Yeah,
started last
Uh-huh.
year.
correct.
and the Second year was this year.
Yes,
Do we think more families participated? Did it grow this year?
it did grow.
Yeah.
It did grow. I'm not sure how many signs were distributed for last year's NOMO, but I can tell you that this year, all of the signs that were ordered, which I think was like 48, I want to say, the signs sold out. And so that would have been in addition to the people that participated last year and had their sign still
Already.
already. Now, some people turn their sign back in to be a good, you know, steward of sustainability practices and return their sign like Karen did. And some people held on to theirs. So it's hard to know exactly how much we grew this year, but the initiative did grow. And even more exciting is that it grew to other municipalities. Both Maplewood and Brentwood heard about Webster Groves' NOMO and Leave the Leagues. And they decided to start their own initiative. So they just completed their first year. Brentwood technically called theirs LOMO. Maplewood did NOMO. So anyway, but in any form or, you know, verbiage you use, it's all good stuff.
But it's good evidence that if you started composting, it could be something like that, that could grow pilot test year to year.
Yes.
Good. John,
2 points on that, or two, one is a question, one is a point. Sean, do you know, does Public Works have a list of who got the black barrels?
That's a good question. I don't know, and I don't think there's a list.
I have one of those and I thought I had to sign up. So when I drove to the rec center to pick it up, that
Uh-huh.
I'd like check off my name. So
There
it was a
could-
couple years ago. I couldn't be
Yeah.
making that up. I don't know, but I did
It
go.
could
there.
exist. It could exist. I'm happy to look into it. I'm seeing Vera behind you say
I'm not
she's
aware
not
of it.
aware of the list, but
I'm not saying it doesn't exist somewhere, possibly. on the
we've had
paper.
some turnover, you know, I from a couple of years ago.
Changes,
I'm not
so-
sure who managed.
How many
that
were there
program.
to begin with, do you know?
Hundreds.
I forget, the initial grant for those, that happened right as I was coming onto this commission, which was a long time ago. And, so I forget, I didn't know they were free. I know that they were, if I recall correctly, they sold them at a very deep discount. But, it may be that we're just trying to give away the rest. I don't remember the initial number, but I do know that the initial uptake was pretty successful.
It was a
Interest.
long ass line in that parking lot. To get in front of the rec center.
Yeah.
I mean, it was jammed. Really, I went and picked up my barrel. But then the second thing I had is Missouri Botanical Gardens is having their Green Living Festival. And I noticed 2 outfits are gonna be tabling there that are aggregators for recycling, for compost. And there might be even more businesses. I don't use one of those businesses. I just use the bin, but that would be a place
Yeah.
to just pick their brains and
Yeah.
figure out which communities are doing what's working, how do they do it.
Yeah,
Did you make it to Glendale's?
I did. So last week Glendale hosted a the Dirt on Compost informational session. And it was led by Jean Ponzi, who's the director at the Earthway Center Botanical Garden. And she was so entertaining and wonderful. And there were probably about 30 people in attendance. And the city did offer for $15, you could purchase a kitchen counter compost bin to start your collection for $15. I shouted out at the end, will you come to Webster and talk? And she said, I've been there before and I'll come again.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a great thing for the Eco Ed series.
Yeah, sounds like a perfect
Yeah,
match.
yeah.
Okay, well, I would just say if anyone wants to get involved in a subcommittee, I mean, that's how we've just, for way of background, I think we've done our best work on this commission is have a small group that dives in and comes back with recommendations, and then we could vote them out if something needs to go to the council. Anybody interested, just please volunteer, and we usually limit it to like 3 people, just so it doesn't get too unwieldy, and then because if you get a quorum, then you've got to post meetings online under Open Meetings Act, and so it's easier just to have these small meetings and then bring something to the full commission. So
And then would we meet outside of this time?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, typically we've had meetings in between commission meetings, and that way you can take as long as you like and really dive into some of these topics.
Yeah.
You know, John, with green dining and given all of our restaurants and all the food that I'm sure isn't eaten, do restaurants compost or what do they do with their food waste? Probably just pitch it. I mean, I don't know what they do, but
Some might compost, but I think most of that's getting wasted.
yeah, I mean, would it be beneficial to our city not to have them wasted, but to compost them in some ways?
I think it's a great idea for the subcommittee and, you know, anybody interested in engaging to help brainstorm on.
The Green Dining Alliance did a study of the sources of food scraps in the city of St. Louis, and 44% of them are from restaurants.
From restaurants.
So that's kind of why they have targeted restaurants as,
And we are like the new restaurant hub of
Yeah.
St. Louis County.
All right. So anyone, please, Karen is interested, and I will just leave it to you to
coordinate.
coordinate,
Okay.
and I'll definitely be in touch with you about, kind of where things go.
Okay.
And one quickie thing, my recommendation, I think a lot of people don't compost because they don't know how, and they're afraid they're gonna have mold everywhere or something.
Yeah.
So if part of your plan is to have like site visits and say, here's how these black things work, and this is what the dirt looks like, and here's where you put in the banana peels, and here's where you take out the dirt, I would be happy to have people come to my backyard. And
Oh, cool.
because I think that seems, and I think that goes also with your idea of doing an event where people could like see these machines and see how simple they actually are.
Yeah.
That-
Okay, thank you.
This kind of leads to our next item, which is kind of looking ahead to our goals for the coming 12 months. In addition to, we focused very heavily in the past year on sort of picking up where we left off in 23 and just trying to cross some items off our to-do list. But I think it's really worth, and I know we don't have a lot of time here today, but I do want to hear ideas about sort of where we have the Forever Webster Groves plan that is, it's pretty broad in nature. And I think it's really time to start thinking about what sort of initiatives we want to tackle moving forward, knowing that things take a while to marinate at this level before we can really do things and take things to the council, whether they're policy recommendations or things we do on our own. Karen.
I would like to kick it off with my personal favorite, which is the energy conservation. And it can happen at any number of levels, but one of the first things I would love to have see the city do an energy audit of the city facilities itself, and that in of itself could be a kind of a spearheading launch for talking about residential and other things, but if we get that far, I think that would be good.
Right. Vera, have the city, you know if the city's ever done something like that?
I'm not aware of that. I think my brother's an electrical, right? That's energy stuff, but they used to be able to, like, somebody would come in and do an energy audit for free. I don't know if that still exists today, but if they did, then I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
Interesting information to see what we could do to improve our facilities.
there would be a lot, yeah, for sure. So, and these old buildings, this kind of office stuff.
Yes, it'd be interesting to have that information incorporated for, like, say, FY 26 budget and future.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
For
know.
budgeting purposes and improvement.
And I think the greenhouse gas benchmarking survey will also help shed a little light on at least
Yeah,
draw a baseline of where we are.
Yes.
And that's soon, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, we are in the final stages of data collections. There's still some, I'm just still trying to get them to share their data with me. But that's nearly complete. And then our goal is to have the assessment, the inventory complete in July. To then present findings starting maybe July, but more likely August. And then September, we are, Dr. Locke and myself will be presenting at the September EcoEd lecture,
Right.
September.
September 3rd.
I just want to say, coming from the sustainability space, it's so exciting that you're doing an inventory. Because it will help the city target the efforts so much better in terms of where the hotspots are and what some of the low hanging fruit are. So that's really exciting. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that'll give us a good jumping off point to decide what we want to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
John?
One item on energy efficiency, I think the biggest lift is building codes. If you change building codes, you change how every building moving forward happens. And my understanding is that past practice with the city of Webster Groves is, and you'll know better than me, but that the city of Webster Groves follows St. Louis County. When St. Louis County updates the code, then Webster updates its code and more or less follows the county, but not necessarily. Is that?
Sounds about right. I do not want to speak for planning as far as building codes. It would be Amara.
And Mara shared, that came from, me asking Mara about that. And so, yes, Mara did say
Okay,
that.
so we just full circle here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, Mara said that, typically they update their codes when the county does, because it ends up being a little bit less work for Webster. Now, last time, and I don't know exactly when that would have been, but I guess the county wasn't quite ready, so Webster updated for them, but usually they try and wait for the county, and right now the county did catch up and we're on the same as the county, so I think that's 2015,
Yes,
if I'm,
yes,
okay, thank you.
yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of upward potential, because 2015 was a long time ago. And the current code, the current model codes have what's called solar ready and EV ready
Right.
baked into them. Do people know what that means?
Mhm.
That means when you build a house, you build the conduit so that you can put an electric vehicle charging station and solar panels up. And so it doesn't mean you need to install the EV charger and solar panels, but it allows the homeowner or building owner to do it at a later date at a much cheaper.
You include the infrastructure for well.
So
Is that current code? Is that what you're saying? Is that what current?
that is not the current code.
Okay.
So when the new code is
that's-
adopted, that would be opportunity.
Yep.
The other thing to know is that it is a dogfight because the Home Builders Association plays tough and they are. I was at a meeting in Hazelwood on building codes where the biggest builder in Hazelwood got up in the front of the meeting and they're going to vote on codes that night and said, if you guys vote for this code, I'm never building another house in Hazelwood. Biggest home builder in Hazelwood by far.
Wow.
And the mayor who told me before the meeting started, this is done deal, we got it. And then they pulled it, and they never even voted. So codes is both very good for the environment, but there is another player on the field who's got a lot of money and a lot of juice. And so we gotta be aware of that. I think it's worth the
Yeah.
fight, but it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It raises costs,
dogfight.
it raises costs, and then eventually,
But it lowers costs for the buyers. There's,
but that's why it's controversial, or that's why the home developers are.
It's more cost for them,
it's,
but if you do it when you're building it, it's theoretically a lower cost to be able to do the EV charger with the solar panel, but maybe that homeowner is not interested, maybe they are interested, I guess it just depends on.
I think it's
It's in there,
to me,
right?
it seems like a small upfront cost for a big long-term savings.
Yeah.
But you know, depends on what side of the table you're on,
And who's
Right.
eating the cost?
right?
Right.
But yeah, I think, you know, the codes, and I know we've talked to council in the past about EV and solar ready for new construction, how it makes sense. So,
yeah, it seems to me that's on the energy efficiency front, that would be really
and
high value added role for this.
correct, and Maplewood, at least Maplewood and Brentwood, I believe, with EV ready, they just passed. They just amended the code. They didn't go through, it wasn't part of the code updating process, it was just an amendment. So we could, but, you know, I think that's worth pursuing with Mara and just getting some basic understanding how that works.
Yeah. Great.
Another quick new project.
Yes.
Lug, I would love to see us become members of the Missourians for Monarchs and have a very large pollinator garden installed. And I apologize if there's already something of that nature in Webster, in possibly some of our parks. But I think it would just be a really neat initiative, especially for educational purposes.
Yeah.
And that organization, being a member, gives you access to at least information about funding sources for perhaps seeds or plants. And then also, informate training and especially around measuring the number of monarchs that visit the garden.
Okay, great, thanks for bringing that. Yeah, these are, the ideas that I'd love to figure out sort of.
So we've done
That
something,
direction.
I'm not sure what it is, but the mayor signed a proclamation. Have you seen that? It's a more monarch city. So there has been some work there. I just don't know what it is, but I do know that I saw a proclamation that she signed about monarchs.
Did she mention that at Arbor Day?
I wasn't there.
Oh, right. okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'll look maybe, yeah.
Hey, we did sign the mayor's monarch pledge about a year ago. Green Space is involved in that. I think if you may want to just ask them about whether they want to renew it. I think it required some events in order to maintain that each year. So yeah, I would talk to Carrie or anybody else you know on
So
that.
Greens, is Green
Commission.
Space related to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Green Space has got that going. Yeah,
Okay,
Okay,
so
makes
talk to
sense.
Carrie, I would suggest, or anybody else.
okay.
Will do. Yeah, that might
Right.
be something that they already have on their I think we should list for the year too.
Yeah.
done.
Quickie thing, the waste management does trash pickup here, and I guess recycling too. Has this commission ever done a site visit to look at what waste management actually does and what percentage of the actual material they're able to recycle, et cetera? Is that already, we've done that before anybody, no?
They may have possibly offered us the opportunity to go visit their recycling facility, or at least, I don't know if the full commission, but at least a couple of members. As I mentioned, and this was years ago, and I need to see if, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, but there was a person who lived in Webster who oversaw recycling for waste management for like all of North America.
Oh, that's right.
And he gave us a presentation about that. That's when, I think, that was when China stopped accepting plastics, I believe, from the US. And there was a big, I think Kirkwood actually stopped curbside recycling for a bit. And so there's this big sort of this turmoil in the market. And he came and he sat at this table and gave us this big presentation. It was absolutely fascinating. And I'm gonna go see if I can't dig up his name and invite him. I think it'd be great to have him back.
Yeah.
It was really interesting. And that sort of was a genesis for the recyclable bag effort, because he talked about just what a scourge these plastic grocery bags are for recycling. They get caught in machinery, and it's just a big headache. But I'll try to go back and find his name.
Yeah, I saw a presentation the other day that said nationally, only 11% of stuff that goes into recycle is actually recycled. I mean, it was an extremely low percentage on a national basis, so.
Yeah, there's a pretty fascinating documentary about that. It's kind of actually kind of depressing.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing, yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna move on just because we're at 5 o'clock, and we would try to keep these to an hour. But I would invite anybody to sort of look over the Forever Webster Groves plan and think about not only ways that we can continue to do things we're already doing, whether it's solar rebates or eco-ed, but also, how we move that plan forward, and, the next sort of what we bite off as far as our next initiatives. Our next meeting is Monday, the 17th of June. And I may or may not be here, but I'll be traveling back to town, but
We'll be out.
yeah, I know and then normally we take July off, so love to continue this discussion in June. And anything else?
I should share one other thing real quick. And I don't know if this is sustainability, Parks and Recs, or green space. But have you all been over to the Deer Creek Greenway bike path, walking path, and that massive playground they have? I mean, first of all, it's all outdoors. You know, people have to park far away, so they walk, they ride their bikes. Kids are playing in all this unbelievably innovative playground stuff. They capture all the rainwater.
Oh, and
Oh,
Brentwood.
the Brentwood thing.
It's
They
amazing.
capture all the rainwater in a big thing, and then it comes out and forms a little lake that the kids can play in. I mean, it's really, they've thought through the whole thing. But sustainability, I'm sure, was a factor in how they laid the thing out, so. I just want to share that I was blown away by it. I just thought it was fantastic. I'm really forward, innovative thinking on all fronts.
It is, but we need to hold them to task. They used a lot of non-native trees. They didn't plant sycamores, they
Oh,
planted
right.
London plane trees. I walked through there with a native plant expert. And it's like.
Is that right? Cool. No.
They
it's ready.
destroyed a whole grove of cottonwood trees that were 150 years old in order to put in the path. And caused quite a bit of re-engineering of Deer Creek too, which is a little bit
Well, that's interesting. I
destructive,
didn't know.
Yeah, I think
but it's amazing.
Yeah.
it's an ongoing, yeah, I think we just need to hold their feet to the fire because they need to go native. They need more education.
That could be another goal, just to consider, with native landscaping, and this might be more of a green space thing, but I do know there's, Jean Ponzi is very favorable and she's advocating for, native landscaping ordinances. So this is probably more of a green space thing, but something to think about.
Okay, on that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
A second,
Second.
all in favor?
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yes, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks, Dave.